Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We appreciate you joining us here today. Well, I've got another little video for you today, and if you've watched the channel, if you've been keeping up with what we've been doing, a few months back I did a video on this pistol here, which is the Kimber Micro 9. This particular version is the KHX. They make several versions of this Micro 9. And the video I did was talking about how this is basically one of the perfect pocket carry guns, and I've pocket carried this one quite a bit. Matter of fact, it was one of my favorite carry guns. It meets a lot of the criteria that I like. And I was recently able to get my hands on today's star attraction, which is going to be the Kimber Micro 9 Evo SP Striker pistol. Could it be that perhaps a new version of the Micro 9, something a little different, is better? I might favor it better than the hammer-fired Micro 9. Well, we're going to find out, and we're going to answer all the questions about this pistol in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back to the channel. We appreciate you joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, or if you've watched our videos and haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, if you could do us a favor and locate that little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your computer screen and give that a poke. If you're on a mobile device, you can just scroll down below the video and hit subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell icon, because it'll let you know whenever we do something new. It helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. So, Kimber Micro 9 Evo SP. Well, why am I excited about this gun? Well, I'll tell you. Once again, going back, this was one of my favorite little small guns. It's just a really good shooter, extremely reliable. The size is great. It's got almost everything that I like in a carry gun, but it's so good with the things that it has that it had has had a pretty high place on my ranking for a long time. But when I've had a chance to get my hands on this Evo, I realized that there's some things that my Micro 9 KHX didn't have that I really probably would have normally not done without. But let's start off the way we normally do. I always like to give you a little comparison. And in this case, we're going to take our Evo here and put it next to something that most people who are in the concealed carry world are familiar with. And if you're new to it, you've probably heard of it anyway, and that's our Glock 43 here. I think this is a really good comparison, more so than many, just because, the Glock 43, for a lot of people, it's kind of the, the gold standard for small, reliable concealed carry guns. And there are many, many options now. You've got your 365 and your Hellcat. You've got these larger capacity guns that haven't really increased in size. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people like myself that are still perfectly happy with a lower capacity firearm. I, for one, don't have any kind of problem carrying a pistol with 6+1 or 7+1. I've never had an issue doing that. Now, if you look at these, obviously, side by side, we do this as kind of an overall. And the reason I do it is more about how the firearm is going to feel when you carry it. That's really what my main concern is this is more about comfort and how the weapon's going to feel on the body. So if you look at it, you do the overhead view here, you can see that extremely similar as far as the length across the top here. And then you look from the back, looking down the sights, if you will, they're very, very similar in size. So I think this is a good comparison to make between the two. Now, just for grins, looking at my other little Micro 9 here, the KHX, you can see it's pretty close. It may be just a a hair smaller, but they're practically the same size by the time you figure in the, beaver tail, all those kinds of things. You get a little bit smaller trigger guard here, which I actually like a larger trigger guard. You've heard me mention that one before. But very close in size. But overall, it compares in size pretty well with some of your common popular carry guns. Now, one little tidbit you may know, Kimber actually tried this before with the Kimber Solo. And I only shot a Kimber Solo one time. I never bought one. I was doing some range work and someone had a Solo and they were having problems with it. And sometimes, it can be operator error. So several of us got involved to kind of see what was going on with the pistol. And as it turns out, the Solo just was extremely terrible. It wouldn't shoot hardly any ammunition we put through it. I think the only thing it ended up shooting regularly was some SIG V-Crown was the only thing we could get to go through the gun. And even then, it would still have some failure to feed from time to time. And they did end up discontinuing that gun. So Kimber, learned a few things, and they came back with a new design. And we're going to get into the rest of the features about that here in just a second. All right, well, let's talk about the features. Well, since we're comparing these different guns, of course, first thing we want to mention, this is a 7+1. The way they do it with the Kimber here, a lot of times when you buy these little compact guns, they'll give you a flush mount mag, but then they'll also give you one like this that has an extension, and you get the extra round in it. When you buy the Kimber, when you buy the Evo here, all of your magazines, they give you two. And both those magazines are going to be the extended 7+1, so there is no flush fit magazine. Now, for me, I don't have an issue with that. There are some guns, in a similar situation that just don't feel right without that extension. If you take the magazine out of this Kimber and you hold it, it's got really good checkering in the metal here. The grip is really good. But even with it being good, two fingers, two fingers is not the most popular grip you want to go with there. This feels a lot better. You can get, not all, but you can get pretty much most of your fingers, enough to where it's a much more stable feeling grip. So you get two of those. And, it's kind of the same thing. We're talking about other guns do that. Well, the Glock 43, it's the same thing. If you try to hold this Glock without its extended mag, you can do it with a flush mag, but to me it feels ridiculous. So when you add the flush magazine, it makes all the difference in the world. Okay, so obviously this is a striker fired pistol. We're going to do a safety check real quick. We'll do several of those throughout this. Of course, you can see we're clear. Nothing there, nothing there. We are good to go. As we look over the pistol, there's some things that you may notice right away. It's got some pretty aggressive serrations in the front. These are sharp. And I can turn it to try to show you. You can see the depth of those serrations. They're pretty significant. And it makes a big difference if you are going to grab this to rack it. These are actually usable serrations. I've seen guns where they've kind of tried to do this, but the serrations weren't all that great. Trigger pull. I measured this trigger and it came in anywhere from 6.5 pounds to close to 7 consistently. So I'm just going to call it a 6.5 pound trigger pull. Looking at the weapon, it has night sights, but what they've done, that front sight, you've got that high visibility ring, which I really like. They did the same thing. The Glock 43X, has the Ameriglow front sight with that orange ring. Now, this stands out really well because it doesn't do it quite the same justice on camera, but as you can see, that's a really good sight picture, and that's even with the lights kind of diminishing it a little bit. So I really like that sight picture. The grip is very aggressive. You got this this particular model is the TLE, and it has the G10 grip on it. The back strap is actually replaceable on this model. The magazine release is reversible. You can actually switch this to the other side if you like. And you can see the barrel is crowned. I know it's a small thing, but to me, anytime I see a small gun, I'm looking at their details, and they've taken the time to do this with the barrel. It's just nice. It just shows you the amount of detail work that's gone into the firearm. As far as the feel, the ergonomics of this weapon, the trigger guard, it's bigger than on the Micro 9, the KHX, the one I was showing you earlier. And that's a positive for me. I like a larger trigger guard. Now, obviously, on a small gun like this, you've only got just a certain amount of space to play with as far as having a large trigger guard before the entire design of the gun sort of gets changed up. But like I said, once again, the grip system is really, really nice. It does have a striker indicator as well. Whenever this thing is locked and loaded here, you can see the pin which has appeared, and whenever I pull the trigger, you can see it disappear. So that is one of the more useful ready to fire indicators, and that's what we're going to call this, as a ready to fire, because obviously that doesn't tell you if there's a round in there or not. But since you treat every weapon like it's loaded in the first place, that's just another layer of safety for you. But between the serrations and the night sights, it has a pretty good trigger, which we'll talk about more on the range review. But it's a really good full-featured small gun that's really comfortable in the hand. And like some of the other small guns, it has everything I'm looking for, plus we've actually gained a couple of things. And one of them is, you've heard me say before that it's my preference not to have a manual safety on my gun. And yeah, even I do it sometimes. But to carry this gun, you've got one of two choices. You either carry it cocked and locked with the safety on, then you have to remember to take that safety off, which is, to me, not ideal. Or you don't carry it cocked, and you try and do that whenever you're under stress, which to me is an extremely bad idea. So obviously, when I carry a pistol like this, it's cocked and locked, so it's actually ready to use. So to have a pistol that's similar in many ways, but is the striker version, so we don't have a manual safety. Obviously, our safeties are built into the internals. So this has everything that was good about the Micro 9, but the striker version makes it a little bit safer, and we've removed that manual safety, which is a big plus for me. All right, well, let's talk about the range. Well, you remember I was mentioning the one of the things I loved about the little Micro 9, the hammer-fired KHX. Very accurate and very manageable. You know, the gun's very well made and did a really good job shooting. Really good sight picture. It has been one of my favorite little accurate guns for concealed carry. And what I like better than the 43 is I can shoot the 43. It seems like I shoot 50 rounds through that gun, and my hand feels like it's done a lot more shooting than when I've done this one. And I'm just guessing that, you know, the metal, you know, the alloy, the components are able to absorb, I guess, some of that energy a little bit better. And it could all be in my head, but it seems to me like my little metal gun did better. Well, this is kind of the same way. Now, I didn't know what to expect at first with this gun, because obviously it looks a lot like its hammer-fired brethren in some respects. But I was surprised at how good the trigger really is on this gun. Like I said, check for clear again. Safety check our gun there, and you can see what's going on. We're good to go. When you recycle the slide on this, that's a pretty decent trigger reset. But to me, what got me is it's not just the fact that the trigger reset is good, it's just very consistent. On a lot of these small pistols, it might feel good, but the trigger feels like it's a little different every time. And I didn't get that with this gun. This gun felt like I was getting the same results out of it every time I shot it. The other good thing about this gun is I found myself really loving these sights. And there's nothing groundbreaking about them, we're just talking about, night sights with the high visibility front circle. And I've been using an orange high visibility circle a lot with the Ameriglow. But for some reason, I find myself just really loving the sight picture. And I'm paying more attention to getting on that front sight in a hurry. I'm not really even thinking about them with a small gun. And I'm getting really good results immediately with the gun. I'm guessing that our 6.5 pound trigger pull was pretty consistent because it didn't feel like it was changing at all. The more I shot it, it still stayed the same. The grip, like I say, is pretty aggressive, but there wasn't any point in me shooting the gun that I felt like it was starting to hurt my hand, and a lot of small pistols do. Now, it may if I shoot more. I shot about 200 rounds initially, just to kind of get a good overall feel for how it's going to work. And unlike the Solo, which came before this gun doesn't have an issue with any ammo. This shot the cheapest ball ammo that I had, and some of the better ball ammo too. It even shot reloads, if you can believe that. Plus several different kinds of defensive ammo, a little bit of everything around here. I shot some of the V-Crowns, some sabers. There's a little bit of everything mixed in here, and whatever we had, it seemed to work very well. For anybody who's interested, ladies and other people who are really asking a lot about the smaller guns, we've had a lot of female shooters at the range that every time we're shooting a new gun like this, a smaller gun, they're wanting to know, what we think about it for new shooters, low hand strength shooters, etc. I think this would be a great choice for anybody, once again, because it's a good setup, and with the absence of a manual safety, for me it puts it in the category of a much better carry gun. It shoots very well. It doesn't take long to get used to how the gun shoots, and it's extremely reliable. And it's very accurate. For a small gun, this actually shoots a lot better than shooting my 43. It's better than my 43X. I can tell a difference. My groups are noticeably better with this little gun. And that's the same thing that I had out of my other little Micro 9. It seemed to shoot better overall than my Glocks. Now, my Glocks, of course, are consistent and they're reliable. But I just think that this gun, with its tighter tolerances, the way it's made, I think Kimber's achieved a little more accurate small pistol. So as far as range performance goes, the little Micro 9 Evo, thumbs up. Alright, so what's it like to carry this gun? Well, it's about the same size we talked about as a 43, and for that matter, it's pretty close, similar size to the little Micro 9, the little KHX, one of my little favorites. And so by default, I just grabbed the same holster that I usually carry for those guns. I didn't even check the chart. And so what I grabbed was a little sticky MD4, and it fits pretty good. Now, probably a slightly smaller one would work too, but I really liked the MD4 because it covered all of the gun except the part that I need to get my hand on. So I don't even know if I haven't even checked Sticky's reference chart to even see if this gun was supposed to be in it yet. I'll do that later. But for me, I carried this gun in the MD4 and it was absolutely wonderful. You've heard me talk about the Stickies before, and once again, let me reiterate: Sticky doesn't pay me a dime to talk about their holsters, and I don't expect they ever will. But I use their holsters because they work. And the thing I love the most about these holsters, and once again, let me emphasize, this is only my solution for small, lighter pistols. I would never carry a larger gun in one of these, and I'm going to tell you why. For something like this, good example, today running around doing errands, going to the gun store and back, had my pistol, this one, in the waistband, and you just simply, and wearing shorts, cargo shorts and a belt, you just simply put this between the inside of the garment and you just snug your belt up to the normal level of comfort, and it's not going anywhere. The material will stay in place, and at the same time, it allows you to make little fine adjustments. Because what I love the most is, let's say that you have the gun basically in a straight up position like this in your waistband. Well, you can change that if you want to. Or let's just say that you prefer to carry it canted a little further back. Well, you can do that too. All you have to do is just push on it in the waist. But what I love is when I get in the car, when I'm getting ready to sit down, I can just reach down and move it within the waist a little forward to keep the back of the gun off of my leather seats. I've never had a problem with ripping or having a hole or anything, but it lets me make that little quick adjustment to get it out of the way of the back of the seat, and it lets me get it out of the way of my seatbelt too, because depending on where the seatbelt comes down, sometimes I want to go a little bit forward or a little bit back to get it out of the way. And you make that adjustment immediately. And then once you get out of the vehicle, obviously, you can just, a quick couple of fingers in your waistband, whoop, just put it right back where you want to go. And if you do this, if you practice doing this, you can make that little adjustment so easy and quickly. It doesn't even look like you're doing anything. It just looks like you're, hitching up your shorts to make sure everything's fitting right. We all do that all day long to make sure things are comfortable. So inside the Sticky, basically it's like you're carrying nothing. Glock 43 has a very small, mass, so when you have it in the waistband, you don't really feel a whole lot. I've carried one of those many, many times in the waistband. It hardly feels like anything. And this is the same thing. They feel like they are practically the same dimensions. And inside this holster with a little bit of pressure, the only part that is against your body is just this right here. Just a little bit. And once again, you can adjust where that sits on the body. So just extremely comfortable. I have another holster actually on the way. I have a custom holster being made. You may as well, but I'm a member of a lot of different little gun groups, and there's a lot of good talent that people, make custom leather works. I've actually got a gentleman who makes extremely nice custom leather who's making me a leather holster for this right now, and I'm going to try that out too because his other work has been really, really great. But using what I have, it's very, very nice. It's very light, and it was very easy for me to get to the gun and draw the gun from the Sticky in practice. And so, once again, I always talk about how high comfort should rank on your scale for choosing a concealed carry firearm, and it should be one of the top. My top three things are accuracy, reliability, and comfort. But comfort could very well be the number one item, just because if it's not comfortable, you won't carry it. And a gun sitting at home in the dresser drawer in the safe isn't going to keep you safe if something happens. So, high marks for comfort. This is one that I think I'm going to be carrying a lot because I really like it. Overall impressions of the Kimber Micro 9 Evo SP. Well, I have to say, little gun's got a lot of good things going for it. When you think about it, and I have this conversation with people, they have different preferences on weapons, and Kimbers, if you know anything about them, are typically not going to be the cheapest choice in the gun case. And I get that. I get that Kimber is not an option for a lot of people because $700–800 for a small gun or more in a lot of cases, it's a lot of money. We're not denying it. But for what you get, this is also a case where maybe it'd be worth saving some money, to get something nicer. Because there are many good, really good polymer guns out there in the field that you can get right now. But for a lot of people, people like myself, at the end of the day, I really prefer to have a metal gun, if I can, over a plastic gun. And it's just me, and it's got nothing to do with any perceived difference in quality between, say, a Glock or an HK or something. Everybody knows how I feel about HKs. I love them. And there's a lot of polymer guns I think are great. And I've got a lot of different ones, FNs, everything. But if I'm going to carry one small gun on me for protection, I'm thinking that I want it to be a metal gun. That's why I tend to carry a steel revolver, or I will carry, a small alloy pistol like this. Those tend to be in my top choices. Although I do have a couple of polymer guns that are in my very, very top, and they're in the rotation too. But it's a very nice option. A lot of quality went into this. I mean, just little details. You've got your crown barrel and the serrations. The grips are so nice. They've got a good job. They've machined in this texturing on the front, your grip. They've even put some lines across the top here to cut down the glare on the top of the slide. Really good sight picture. You've got that ready to fire indicator. I'll show us clear again before I do this for you, but you've got that ready to fire indicator. There's just so many little things about this gun that are great. But one of the best things is it's a really great shooting pistol. It's comfortable in your hands, so if you like to practice a lot, which I certainly recommend. I know that ammo is really expensive. Everything is really hard to get right now, and that's why, of course, we thank our friends over at Don's for providing us this beautiful, beautiful Kimber Evo for our tabletop today. They're a big supporter of gun safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So if you have a good partner, local gun shop that you can get stuff from, we encourage you to practice all the time. But it's a gun that you can shoot a lot and not feel like that it's beating you up. And for me, the 7+1 capacity is more than enough. You'll always hear me refer to the rule of threes on that one, which is most gunfights are over in less than 3 seconds, less than 3 shots fired inside of 3 meters. So if I've got 7+1, I think I'm doing okay. And hopefully you'll never need it anyway. But remember, the best carry gun that you can have is the one you've got on you. I think that the little Kimber Evo SP here deserves a place in anybody's rotation that wants a quality firearm that's reliable. I can't say anything bad about it. It's just a good little gun. So anyway, that's my thoughts, guys. We appreciate you joining us today. We will be back very soon, of course, with something new for you. And like I said, we can't thank you enough for supporting us. Those of you that are active in the comments, helping other shooters, exchanging information, we can't thank you enough for that. That's how all this works. And we'll get another video ready for you here soon. And of course, in the meantime, everybody be safe out there. We appreciate you, and we thank you. Have a good day.